Most Blender users switch between global and local without ever questioning what the other orientations do. What they don't realize is that the rest aren't extras. They're mathematically driven tools that can completely reshape your workflow and optimize it for the better. Today, we're demystifying all of them so you can work with intention instead of habit and make the jump from beginner to pro. So before we start, we need to actually understand what even transform orientations are. And essentially, because we're working in a 3D software, you need to know a few things. First, where an object is present and how it's rotated. Now, you can do that in different reference frames. In most situations, we use the Cartesian coordinates, which means we get three values, one for an x-axis, one for the y-axis, and one from the z-axis. And each of these are orthogonal to each other, which means they are 90 degrees from the other axes. So the angle between the x-axis and the z-axis is 90 degrees. The z-axis and the y-axis is 90 degrees. And between the x-axis and the y-axis is also 90 degrees. Now, you do have other coordinate systems like spherical coordinate systems, but in Blender, we use the Cartesian coordinate systems. Now, we need to determine where this x, y, and z axes actually are. Because when you make some change, let's say I say move it on the y-axis by 20 units, it needs to know which y-axis we're talking about. Because these frames do not necessarily have to be just this. We could also define this to be somewhere over here. And it could even be rotated in some other random way where this is now the x, this is the y, and this is the z. So now if we say move about the y-axis by 20 units, the cube would actually have to move in this direction. So it's very important to know what reference we are taking. And the transform orientations essentially determines what reference coordinates we are going to be using when we make any transformation, such as rotation, movement, or scaling. In a previous video, we did talk about the different rotation modes, such as Euler rotations, axis angle, and quaternions. So definitely do check out this video over here if you haven't already, because that also forms one of the foundations for understanding the transform orientations. But other than that, we will be going step by step. So let's go ahead and understand what the global transform orientations are. When the transform orientation is set to global, it looks at the global axes. That means this green, red, and blue lines. No matter what the orientation of the cube is, if you were to press GX, it's still going to move on the x-axis. If you do GY, it's going to move parallel to the y-axis. And if you do GZ, it's going to move parallel to the g-axis. Similarly, if you rotate about the y, it's going to rotate about the origin, but about an axis parallel to the global y-axis. Similarly, if you do RX, it's going to go through the origin about an axis parallel to the x, and same thing for RZ. So irrespective of the actual transformation and the order in which you are implementing these operations, they're still going to go about these global axes only or parallel to the global axes. So that's fairly simple to understand. But what if we had it rotated like this, and now I wanted it to move according to this new axis? In that case, if I was trying to use the global axes, it would be very hard because I'd have to keep moving about all the three just to get a smooth movement that tries to move in this particular x-axis or along this particular face. So in order to help do that, you can switch this from global to local. And now whenever you rotate the cube and then try to make any movement, it's going to look at what the axes that were fixed to this object is and move about or along those axes. So now if I was to do GX, you can see how it moves about the local x-axis, and then GZ goes like that, and then GY goes about this new y-axis. If you were to rotate about anything, so let's say RZ, you can see how the axes are also rotating, but now when you do GX, it's going to move about that rotated axis. So however you move or rotate the cube, the axes move along with it or rotate along with it, and it's going to take those new axes. So that was the local transformation orientation. Next, you have the normal transformation orientation, which starts getting into the areas that most people don't use, but can be super useful. At the surface level, it seems like it's nothing but the local coordinate axes, because if you rotate about X, the Y is now rotated to this, and if you press RY, it's going to move about that. So it seems like it's the local axes, but it's actually not. In object mode, it does behave like that, but it's very powerful when we switch over to edit mode. Now that we're in edit mode, you'll see sometimes the cube may no longer be a cube, and now the local y-axis is still here, but I want to move perpendicular to this particular face. or orthogonal to this face. So how do I make this face move perpendicular to it? Or let's say it was subdivided and I wanted this middle face to move out from this particular face. In that case, I can use these normal axes and just tap Z and it's going to move exactly perpendicular or orthogonal to the original face that it was attached to. So this is not the local Y axis, nor is it any of the global orientations, but it's dependent on the actual surface. Now, if I wanted to move this one out, or maybe let's say this face out in this particular direction that it's facing, I could then just select it and tap GZ and it would move in that direction. And in fact, whenever you extrude by tapping E, it will always take that normal direction by default. So to check if your orientation was actually normal, you can see after I've moved it about its normal, if I press GZ, it's going to move exactly back to where it got extruded from, showing us that yes, it did move about the exact same axis. So it moves perpendicular when it is about the Z axis, but if you tap the others, which is X or Y, it'll move along the surface. If I was to do GY, you can see it chooses the flat surface and it moves along that particular axis. So if you do GY, you can see how it's moving exactly flat on the surface. The same thing goes for X, except it's perpendicular to the Y direction. So if you make it flat like this, and then you tap GX, you can see how it's moving flat along the surface. So irrespective of how you're looking at it, it's going to move along that flat surface. So that is what the normal transform orientation does. Next, we can move on to the gimbal orientation. And this is probably the least used, or at least everyone thinks it's the least used, until you realize that this is the exact same as rotating using these buttons or these options in the object properties. Many of you do rotate and keyframe using these options, but what you're really doing when you're using this is using the gimbal transform orientation. If you've watched my previous video, we spoke about all of these different modes and why the order of operations matters. If you do XYZ and you clear out the rotation, whenever you rotate about the X, it'll be the global X, and then rotate about the Y, it's the global Y, and then rotate about the Z, it's the global Z. But this happens only if you go X, Y, Z. And we're talking about when we're rotating via these options. So X and then Y and then Z makes it go along or about the global transformations or the global axes. If you go in the exact reverse order, it looks like it's going about the local axes. So Z and then Y, it looks like it's the local Y, and then the X looks like it's the local X. However, if you don't go either in the XYZ order or ZYX order, you can't really tell what axis it's rotating about. For example, now that it's in this random rotation, if I try moving it about the Y, this is neither the global Y nor is it the local Y, because you can clearly see the local Y axis is also being spun around. So that is where the problem comes, and that's why you need to know what order of rotation is actually present. And when you switch to gimbal, that is the axis that it's actually going to be rotating about. It's rotating about the axis that it would have rotated about if you were just directly using these values. So you can clearly see when I do RY, it's only going to change the Y axis values over here. In fact, if I was to use any other orientation like the local, and then I state RY, you can see how all three of the values are actually changing as I rotate it. Similarly, even when I do global and I do RY, all three of the values actually keep changing. So what's actually happening when you switch to gimbal is it assumes you're using just these values. And that's super useful because many of the times you do want to animate using these values, and then you can't understand what axis it's actually rotating about. So you can just switch to gimbal and then tap that axis, and then you get an idea of what the axis is that it's rotating about. And you can again figure out what the X, what the Z is, and why you're having gimbal locking issues or things like that. So if you don't know what gimbal locking is, definitely check out my demystifying Blender's rotation video, and that should give you a really good idea of why these rotation modes matter and what gimbal locking is and how you can actually avoid all of those. And now that we understood what the gimbal orientation is, we can go and look at the view transform orientation. Now this is actually a very simple orientation where it always takes a look at your viewing angle. So no matter what you choose, the x-axis is going to be perfectly horizontal however your screen is. The y-axis is going to be perfectly vertical exactly how your screen is. And the z-axis is going to go towards your screen or away from your screen, perfectly perpendicular to your screen. So no matter how your screen is, if I was to just come about over here, see gx moves it exactly horizontally across my screen. Gy moves it exactly vertical across my screen, and GZ moves it towards or away from my screen. So that is what the view transform orientation does. But remember, this is view dependent, and the way you could visualize this could be through the camera. Let's say if I take this empty and assume that this is going to be my transform orientation axis, if I just copy the rotation of the camera at all points of time and I copy the location of the cube, that is going to be my transform orientation. So if I now press GX, it's always going to move about that X axis, GY moves about that, and GZ moves about that particular Z axis that you can see. And as I rotate my view, you can see how the axes also change to ensure that the X axis remains perfectly horizontal and the Y remains perfectly vertical, and Z always points exactly at the camera. So then I can just switch it over to something like this, and then again press GY to move about that, GX would move about that, and then again maybe RZ moves it perfectly about the axis perpendicular to my view direction. So that is the view transform orientations. Next up, you have the cursor, and the cursor is this little 3D cursor that's essentially where any object is added in, but it serves a greater purpose, which is to choose the cursor as the transform orientation. If you go over to the cursor button here, you can just click to select where the cursor is, and wherever you place it, you can see the cursor has a tiny red dot going like that and green dot going like that, which shows the x-axis and the y-axis of the cursor. And if you actually rotate around, you can see it also has the z-axis of the cursor shown in blue. So whenever you actually click, the cursor is placed perfectly according to the view transform. So your X is going to be perfectly horizontal, Y is going to be perfectly vertical, and the Z is going to go perfectly towards your viewing angle. But if you want to specify the actual rotation of this cursor, you can tap N, and under the View tab, you see there's a 3D cursor option that shows the location and the rotation of 3D cursor. Apart from that, you can also choose the rotation mode of the 3D cursor, and then if you switch the transform orientation to cursor, it's always going to follow whatever this rotation and rotation mode is set for the cursor. So you can see now we have the cursor with the x-axis like that and the z-axis like that. So if we were to select this object and then press GZ, you can see how that z-axis is parallel to the z-axis of the cursor. Similarly, if we do, let's say GX now, it's going to go parallel to the x-axis of the cursor, which is essentially the orientation of the cursor. You can rotate about the cursor's x-axis and even the cursor's y-axis as well. And this is really useful because, again, you can just set the rotation of the cursor to something based off of your requirements. And once you have that set, you can simply move it about that particular transformation orientation. And this is useful when your scene, for whatever reason, is arbitrary, or maybe you have some robotic character or a robot rig that you have to keep moving in a specific axis or specific direction that does not align with any of these previous transform orientations. And yes, you could keep changing the view, but you would have to keep ensuring that your view is perfect. And again, that's very hard to get precise. So if you want precision, you can just make the cursor follow along that particular rotation that you want, and then you get that axis that you now have free access towards. So that was the cursor transform orientation. Next, you have the parent transform orientation. And suppose you have an entire set of objects that is parented to another set of objects. Then, if I was to rotate the parent, the child moves along with it. So even this thing's local axes have now changed. If I switch over to local, you can see GX is going to move it about its X axis. And similarly, I can rotate this without affecting this and then move this about its new X axis, which is independent from the parent's X axis. But suppose I want to move it about the parent's X axis, I can then switch over to parent, and now it's always going to move based off of what the axis of the parents is. So GY is going to move about or parallel to the Y axis of the parent, and GZ is going to move it parallel to the Z axis of the parent. And that's what all of the default transform orientations do. But what's even cooler is that you can actually create your own orientation if you need it. So the 3D cursor orientation that we have, you can set the 3D cursor to only one specific orientation at a time. And suppose we need 2 or 3 different orientations that we need to keep switching between. So let's say the robot had even more chains and links, and they have to keep moving about those few specific orientations continuously. You can't do that with just the 3D cursor, otherwise you'd have to keep changing the rotation of the 3D cursor every single time, which becomes a hassle. So instead, you could set up the object to be whatever rotation you need it to be at, and then go ahead and just create a new orientation from the selection. And that is going to create this new transformation orientation. So you have the X, Y, and Z accordingly. And the cool thing is now, just to visualize it, let's unparent these. So now, even though you rotate the cube and its local transformations have changed, the actual transformation orientation remains the same. So if I was to press GX, you can see it's moving about that particular X, and rotating about Y moves about that particular Y. So independent of the orientation of the cube, it's going to move about these axes that were fixed over here. And you can do the same thing and make other orientations as well that you might commonly use. So suppose I have another orientation that's like this, and I will need to keep using this. I can go ahead and add in another transform orientation for that particular object. And now I can choose that one and move about its X and its Z and its Y. And then I can switch over to this by just flipping over to this cube and now move along this one's Z axis. So these are very, very useful in various situations and can generally speed up your workflow. Another use case is for when you have to apply the rotation. For example, in this particular object, if you press GX in the local coordinates, you go about that particular direction. But if you were to go ahead and press Ctrl A and apply the rotation or all transforms, you'll see when you press GX, it's now going to be like the global X axis, and you no longer have access to this local axis. But if you want access to the local axis, before you apply the actual transformation or before you hit Ctrl A, what you could do is you could go ahead and click a new transform orientation, which is now set to that particular cube. Then, if you were to press GX, it's going to go about the local X axis. And now you can go ahead and press Ctrl A and apply the rotation. So now, even if you are in the local space, it's going to move about the global X axis. But if you do want its previous local state, you can switch over to the cube orientation. And now you still have access to those particular transformations, even though you've already applied the rotation, and the rotation of this object is 0, 0, 0. But I think that's all there is to learn about transform orientations in this particular video at least. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below and I'll try to answer them as soon as I possibly can. And I really hope you learned something from this tutorial that makes Blender more accessible and demystifies it even more. Most users use all of these features on a regular basis but don't know what half of them actually do. So hopefully this makes you feel more confident about Blender as a whole. I will be releasing a lot more tutorials as well as demystifying videos in the near future, so definitely stay tuned for that and let me know which ones you'd want to see next. Until those come out, thank you so much for watching, keep creating, and don't forget to stay creative.